Blog Talk Radio.
Hello everyone, this is Chrism, and I would like to welcome you to a conversation about your Kundalini awakening experiences. And we're just going to dive right into it right now. Hello everyone. So speaking about a few different subjects today, one of the subjects would be the heart opening and the why it is that we have different major organs inside of our body. Why do we have a liver? Why do we have a pancreas? Why do we have kidneys and adrenals and things of this nature? Why is it necessary? Why was this part of God's design? What is the purpose of having large major organs, and why are they part of our Kundalini awakening equation? And so let's just start with the liver. With the liver, we have to filter materials that are not used by us, that is not going to be metabolized by the body in such a way, such as toxins, such as certain types of pollens and certain types of anything that can get into the bloodstream. So even the spores from mushrooms and the aflatoxins that can come into a person's bloodstream. You need to really understand that the liver is this master filter, but it also has a form of filtration that extends outward from its position within the body and allows us levels of filtration based upon our energetic levels, our focus, our energy levels. The Kundalini comes in and it changes the liver. It changes the upper and the lower lobes. If you look at the liver itself is shaped. You have a very, very broad base, and that is the first lobe of the liver, and then you have the upper lobe, the second lobe of the liver, and that is almost like a very triangular shape. And it is as the Kundalini is. It narrows itself as its passage rises as we ascend, as we continue to work within the Kundalini equation. So are we rising into that grace of the divine, and as we rise, we will pass through a barrier of separation. That barrier of separation, of course, would be the astral realm in our case, or the level of spiritual understandings that include things such as entities, things such as discarnate or dead people's consciousness that linger on, the many different qualities of discarnate creation. That would be the separation point that the lower lobe of the liver is reflecting. And then, of course, we have the upper lobe, and that is where the path really, really narrows towards our divine understandings, our divine gifts, our divine, we're accepted into the heavenly fields, and we begin to walk and talk and work and become through the connection with the divine far stronger than where we were when we were working the lower lobe of the liver. And this has so much to do with filtration. In many ways, when we live our lives, we're filtering out those areas of life that do not really concern our karma, that do not concern our senses, that do not concern the path that we're walking. Let me give you an example. So a person, let's just say a person in Ireland. A person in Ireland is walking along the path, and they're very focused on the dairy, on keeping the cows going. Where's the best grass growing? Of course, almost everywhere on the Emerald Isle is green, and so you have plenty of opportunities to find good pasture land for that cow. But as you're doing that, you're not really thinking about the procreative tendencies of guppies in the upper Amazon River. It's just not there. It's not. If we were connected to everything, the all that is all the time, well, we would be concerned with the reproductive tendencies of guppies, which are a small fish in the upper Amazon River, but we're filtered away from that because we are not allowed to be at one with everything, because we have very specific tasks that we need to accomplish first. We need to get those cows to pasture. We need to be able to live our lives the way the Kundalini has designed us, and the way our karma has designed us to live our life. And make no mistake, I'm going to digress just a little bit here because I said designed. Your divinity has designed your body. It designed how you look, and it designed how you metabolize energy. It designs all these things. And really quickly here, I'm going to ask anybody in the chat room to validate my sound quality. We know that on Blog Talk Radio, sometimes there's a real problem with sound quality. So Cole or Manisha or Vincent or anybody, Atlanta Seeker, if somebody could start typing a little bit and give me a little reassurance that I'm not talking to. Oh, thank you, Cole. Okay, all right. Blessings to you, Cole. Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you, Mary Jean, Manisha. Thank you, Atlanta Seeker. Thank you, Vincent. Thank you very much. Okay. So as you have been designed by divinity perfectly to meet your karmic agenda, so have you been designed perfectly in order to begin to, certainly with the people listening to this show, you have been designed in order to even have an understanding, even the smallest understanding of what the word Kundalini means. The interactions of your life have all combined to give you the inquisitiveness, the curiosity, the reading skill, the interaction with other people's skills, social skills, in order that the word Kundalini may come in to your personal understandings or curiosity of what it might be. That has been designed into you. Therefore, that seed, that tiny, tiny little mustard seed of Kundalini that was planted at the base of your spine, well, that is beginning to move and to grow roots inside of the lower tailbone, and to really begin to carve a niche into your mental processes that would allow you to start being curious and start finding some more information about this Kundalini, and therefore you would be listening to this show as opposed to wondering how the seal that was killed yesterday on the ice floes of the Arctic is going to either be preserved or is it going to be eaten by a polar bear. That concern has been filtered out of your consciousness. You don't get to focus on that because you have other things of a karmic nature and a Kundalini developmental nature that allows you to focus very, very keenly on the things that you're here to do. You're here to meet your karma, and you're here to come into the Kundalini grace. And as that occurs, and as that has occurred for many of you, this puts you into the upper lobe of the liver. You are now you're dancing between the two dimensions. You're dancing across that great chasm of separation that we call the veil, and you're learning what it is to fall and to fly at the same time. Okay. And you know who I'm talking about here, and I'm just looking at some of the names on the chat group here, and there's quite a few of you are represented there as well. And so you look at the filtration mechanism of the liver, the lower lobe, the lower world, the upper lobe, the upper world, the separation between the two, the chasm or the veil put in place. And the liver, as a filtration unit, is also a filtration unit for focus and conscious. It's a filtration unit that brokers the amount of energy that comes into the body. There's certain, if you ever do the hot yoga, there's one of the 26 positions that the Bikram yoga uses. And it's there to really, really, to detoxify the liver, they say, and boy, you can sure get a rush of energy from that when you do that. And so this just should really tell you that the liver is a modulator of energy that is being given into the body at any given moment. And it works in conjunction with other major organs of the body and with the Kundalini in the body to give a person just the right amount of energy that they need to stay within a focus that is following the path of ascension into the Kundalini that the person is engaged in, especially when the Kundalini is awakened within that person. So this is just some of what the liver does, and so this is why that when you start looking at the body and you start compartmentalizing certain organs, well, what does the liver do? What does the stomach do? What does the pancreas do? We look at the pancreas and we look at what bees eat. Bees they eat the nectar of flowers. They store the nectar of flowers and they change it into a food that is for them. And if you look at all the food that comes into a human body is changed into various different sugars, and the sugars are manipulated by the pancreas and by the aisles of Langerhans inside the pancreas, and so it has a very, very specific task of giving a person balance within the highly volatile intake and transformation of specific sugars in the body. And so it plays that balancing act, and it adjusts your cravings. What are you going to eat? What are you going to have? Why are you going to eat what you're going to eat? And as the Kundalini comes in, and it will expand upon that as well, and it will begin to take over some of the compelling responsibilities that the pancreas has for the intake of sugar. Some people, that they have to have a donut every day. Oh my God, they got to go. They found a donut shop. And they are in love with that donut. And you look at some of the donuts. There's a brand called Crispy something, and then and that stock went through the roof, and everybody wanted those crispy donuts, and oh my God, it just makes you wonder. It's like, God, what are those pancreases doing with the amount of inorganic flour, GMO laced flour? So the person, let's just say the person's really, really strongly addicted to having that one donut of the day, and the donut comes into the system and is metabolized, and the sugars and the GMOs and the frog genes and the seal genes and the leopard lizard genes that some of these that they put into the GMO. Well, that's also coming into that donut, and so you're eating frogs and seals and leopards and God knows what else Monsanto chooses to put in there, and that gets transformed into a sugar, and the sugar is taken into the pancreas, and of course the pancreas is forced to metabolize it, and that can change with the Kundalini, because the Kundalini has co-opted that desire for sugar, or that desire to have an intake that is inclusive of sugar. You stop with the donuts. And of course, I'm going to ask everyone to stop with the donuts. It's unless you can find some free-range, breastfed, organic donuts, stop with the donuts. Don't do that to yourself. That's a toxicity. And it's something that's feeding the ego more than it's feeding your body. And it's something for you to look at, really, with that in mind. And as we go back to the bees and we go back to the wasps, like the paper wasp, we have a kind of vespid wasp out here that is a paper wasp, and a tremendously powerful sting. Oh my God! But they just like flowers. They just go to the flowers and just harvest the nectar. They're not predatory wasps like some of the wasps can be. And these are the wasps, these vespid, these paper wasps. They're about, maybe they can grow anywhere from like 3 inches long to various sizes under that. And they'll land on you, but they're not there to sting you. They're not there to hurt you. They feel your Kundalini. Feel the sacred feminine exuding from every pore of your skin, and they see it in your energy field. They're just going to land on you because they want to soak up that nectar. They want to soak up the divine nectar. And this goes for any of the animals that land on you or that want to be with you, your dog, your cat, your cockatoo, your turtles, your fish, your paper wasps, the birds. I mean, you name it. I mean, they all want to have a taste of that divine self that you're having. And you have to look at what they are doing and how they are eating, what it is they're consuming, and how pure and unprocessed that wasp is going. That wasp goes to the rose, and she goes right into the rose, and she gets just the right amount of nectar and pollen, and that is what's going to feed her children. That is what she's giving herself to. And oh my God, is that not the purest form of eating that you can look at? And you have to look at that, and you have to, well, hey, what am I doing? How am I feeding myself? How am I feeding my pancreas? Am I going to Dan's Donuts every day? And are you? It's like, well, okay, is it a sprinkle day or not? I mean, I was in Ireland a little while ago, and Her Holiness, the Celtic Queen of Questionable Comforts, was driving me around. And I happened to see a billboard sign, and it showed this like 10-year-old boy on it, and they have this big sign with this donut and the white frosting on it, and they have these multicolored sprinkles, and he says, and he asks the question, he says, more sprinkles? Yes, please, and it's like, oh my God, it's like more artificial sugar? Oh yeah, lay it on me. It's very, very important that we look at what we're eating so that the liver can function correctly. It can filter what it's naturally there to filter. The pancreas can make the sugar transformation and give us a balanced level of sugar within the body. We need to really start paying attention to what we put in. Now, people may look at me and they go, "Well, Chrism, when you're traveling, you eat the worst food." It's so true. It is so true. It's, oh my God. When I'm traveling in France or parts of Germany or England or Ireland or even, gosh, I go to Brazil and I lose 30 pounds because I don't want to eat anything. No offense to anybody that's listening that's from Brazil. You got to be very, very cogent of what you're putting in your mouth and why. What part of your body are you feeding? Is it the ego part or is it the pancreas? Is it the liver? Why do we have so many filtration organs in our body? Why do we have redundant filtration organs? We have the liver, we have the kidneys. We have 2 lobes to the liver and we have 2 kidneys. I mean, why is there such a level of filtration that needs to occur within the human body? It's because there is so much creation out here. There is so much creation on this planet, and the creation is even included, the GMO. I mean, how many leopard lizard genes do we need to consume today? Okay, how many glowing snails do we need to consume today? And so the liver is there to filter out these toxicities, and unfortunately with the GMOs aren't filtered so easily, and some of them even pass through the blood-brain barrier, which has a direct effect upon your brain. So not a good thing. So you look at why we have so many filtration units in this body, and the lungs are filtration units as well, and the sinus membrane in the body, filtration, the nose hairs, filtration units. Very important. The cilia that line the ears are filtration units, and so we have so many levels of filtration in this body is because we are on a very, very physical, mundane world, and we have microscopic life, and we have larger than life, like say a polar bear or something like that, or a blue whale, and we have many, many, many levels of interaction with the environment that don't necessarily go well with our metabolism, and so we have these filtration units that allow us to filter out that which does not belong into our into that which is feeding our body. And so it's very, very important for you to look at your Kundalini filtration units. And the Kundalini filtration units is one of its own self, right? I mean, so it will say, okay, you need to have the prime rib today, and next week it'll say, okay, all you can eat is carrots and spinach. Okay, and so that is definitely an intuitive filtration unit that that the Kundalini is giving into you, it's very important that you pay attention to this. But you have to pay attention to this. Okay? You have to give yourself enough to the Kundalini to be able to even feel the compulsion. To even feel the compulsion. You have to give yourself to the Kundalini just enough so that you can begin to understand how the Kundalini is directing you in a dietary way, or how the Kundalini is directing you in where you're living, or how you're loving, or who you're loving, or what you're doing. It's very important for you to understand that and to go with that. And so we look at all the different filtration mechanisms on this body, and it's all designed to keep a level of purity inside of us, that we may nourish ourselves and grow ourselves into the opportunity to become influenced directly by the Kundalini, and then activated by the Kundalini, and then awakened by the Kundalini, and then a whole level of transformation begins upon that. And I won't be able to go through every organ of the body in this program, but I do want you to understand that your body is not just what science thinks it is. Let's not forget, 20 years ago they were pulling the tonsils out at people, saying, "Oh, you don't need those." Now we know that they're a big part of the immune system, and they were taking the thymus out of people because, "Oh, you don't need that. We don't know what that does. Therefore, you don't need it." And out comes the scalpel. They crack that chest. They pull that thymus out piece by piece. And now you're not, you've lost a major organ that helps develop T lymphocytes, that helps you be cancer-free in your body. And so you don't really want to pay attention to what science thinks it knows about the human body. Now, that's not saying that you don't go to the ER when you break your arm. Of course you do. Of course you do. You're in an auto accident. I want you to go straight to the ER. I don't think you'll have a choice anyway. And that's a good thing. I think, science and the emergency medicine is really, really good. It's just the other stuff, the diagnostics, that I think are a bit lame, because they don't know what a certain thing does. Therefore, they don't think you need it. Now, that is slowly changing within the scientific paradigm. But it's a slow change, and in some places it's not changing that way at all. So it's something to consider. Now, you're going to have to endorse Amroli. Not sure. I don't. It looks familiar to me, but right now it's not coming to my mind about what that is. So Atlanta Seeker, you can go ahead and flesh that out a little bit. I'd be more than happy to give you my opinion on that. So it's very important to look at what you're doing to your body and why, and this is being given to me strongly right now. It's given to me strongly in a way that is crucial for you to hear, crucial for you to listen to, crucial for you in your Kundalini awakening equation to look at what it is you're putting into your mouth and why. Why? Is it because you like Italian food? Is it an ethnic compulsion that has come over you? So it's like, well, I really relate to the Italian people, so I want to eat Italian food. Okay. Can you get free range, breastfed, organic Italian food? And I think you can. And so of course that would be not a bad thing to eat. But are you feeding the ego or are you feeding the body? Which one are you feeding the most throughout the day? So take a look at that in yourself and make that connection. Is Dan's Donuts the biggest part of your day? Or like me, so I'll go to a place called Panera's and I'll have a pumpkin muffin and I'll have a hot drinks, coffee, black coffee with nothing in it, because I've gone past that 8-year stage where I couldn't have caffeine, and now the Kundalini says, well, yeah, go ahead and have some of that, but it's got to be the right kind and it's got to be the right way and blah blah blah. So if I follow the Kundalini's rules, then she'll let me have that, and so I have it. You got to look at the different changes in your dietary role and why you're playing that role. What are the changes that are coming? Why are you a vegetarian? If the Kundalini is not telling you to be a vegetarian, well, then why are you a vegetarian? Are you feeding the ego because some social organization being politically correct? Well, I don't like to kill animals, but I love to listen to plants scream. Really? You like to kill plants? See what I'm saying? Everything has a right to live, so everything has a right to survive, and everything has a right to not be eaten. If you're gonna follow that rationale, then don't eat anything. Don't drink the water because some plant may need that water, so don't drink any water. Because if that plant doesn't happen to get the water that you just drank, it's gonna die, and therefore you've committed a sin. Or you're a murderer. You're a plant murderer. Okay, so. So there you have it. Be very, very, very concise and careful about what it is you eat and why you eat it. Always ask yourself, why am I eating this? Why am I eating this? And then move on from there. And I'm going to move on from this into our next topic. And the next topic is entheogen use. Entheogens are the plant medicines, the plant helpers, as some of the folks like to refer to them as. And really, the entheogens are often just ways to get into another dimension without having to utilize your Kundalini, without having to do the hard work of bringing the body into a very special kind of balance, bringing the body into a very special place, a place of serenity, a place of divine communication, a place of refinement, a place where your refinement begins to open you into the doorways of grace, where you go straight from mortality into divinity. And oh gosh, I don't have time to meditate, and I've got kids, I've got a pet, I've got fish I have to feed, and I'm really concerned about those guppies in the upper Amazon. And so, maybe I'll just take ayahuasca. Maybe I'll just take peyote. Maybe I'll just take San Pedro. Maybe I'll just take some sort of a plant helper that is going to help me get there right now. What is that, ladies and gentlemen? What is that kind of an attitude? What is that? I really want to know what that is, and so I'm gonna bring Her Holiness, the Queen of Questionable Comforts, online here and introduce her to you. Here you are, Santara. Finish your business, quick. Uh-oh. Do a sound check. No, you're good. So what is that called? What is that attitude called? You forgot the question. What? What? I can't understand what you're saying. So just say it slowly, like you're talking to a 5-year-old.
Laziness.
It's exactly what it is. Thank you, my dear. Thank you. I'm going to put you in the blue. Thank you. It's exactly right. The Centaur is right on target. It is laziness. And is that the quality that you want to bring into your interaction with grace? That lazy attitude that says, oh my gosh, I live in the West and I have to work and drive a car and sometimes I have to roll the window down and up, but thank God it's electric because I don't want to have to turn those handles. It's laziness. It's laziness for us in the West to come down there. Now, I'm not saying that the tribal communities of the Amazon and other shamanic communities are lazy. That is how they do things. That is what they have done. They do not know to do the other thing. At least not all of them do. Some of them do. The Bushmen of Africa do, and the shamanic ethnic belief system that was Hinduism that turned into this big scientifically oriented. Let's have Vedic science and Vedic this, Vedic that, until they made it so complicated that nobody could really follow it. Well, that started out as a shamanic belief system. They knew how to step aside. Most of the practitioners of that belief system right now do not know. They're still looking outside for inside validation. But you know what? That's a lot of belief systems. They're looking outside first before they finally turn their gaze inside and start working from the inside up. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Atlanta Seeker and some of you, I will answer some of those questions in a little bit here, okay? Regarding hemisync and all of that stuff. So this use of this people flying down to Peru, like I'm going to lead 16 or 17 people down to Peru to do the ayahuasca and possibly the San Pedro. But I'm taking Kundalini people, and I'm taking people that have already acquired the invitation from grace to go. And this is what they're bringing into the heavenly fields. This is what they're taking with them on this brief sojourn through the auspices of ayahuasca or San Pedro, to go into that grace and to go into that without doing it 1,000 times. You hear some of these people, oh yeah, I've done ayahuasca 100 times. And I'm thinking, well, why are you doing it 100 times? Why 100 times? Why aren't you just doing it once or maybe 5 times? I mean, why? What is it that you're not able to do on your own, going straight from a mundane life into the divine, into the heavenly fields? What are you not doing? What is the ayahuasca not showing you, or what are you not doing to get yourself there in a way that doesn't force you to use a plant medicine every time you want to do it? How does that work? In a way, I think that from an esoteric standpoint, we're just building esoteric dependencies. If you're doing ayahuasca 100 times, that sounds like an esoteric dependency for me, or at least from where I'm standing. Why not sit down and get to know the features that your human body has for you? Why not sit down and meditate? Why not sit down and get to know where the blockages in your heart are, where the blockages in your brain is, where the blockages in your self-communications are? Why not start to know thyself first before you begin to know yourself through the auspices of a plant consciousness or a spore-based mushroom consciousness? Not that they're bad. I'm certainly not saying they're bad. They really do the mushrooms will certainly put a taxation on your liver, so be advised of that. Don't ever eat mushrooms that you don't know exactly what it is you're eating. Definitely don't do that, because that can kill your liver, that kills your filtration, that kills your body. Okay. But let us not forget why we have the Kundalini at all. Let us not forget all the work that we had to do, all the lessons of life that we had to live in the very many different karmic incarnations of life, incarnations of life that we have had to go through to even be able to reach and metabolize verbally Kundalini awakening. Let us not discontinue. Let us not fall prey to shortcuts. Practice those safeties. Meditate about an hour a day. Do your devotions. Don't forget what has brought you to this beautiful plateau, surrounded and by this beautiful mountain that you're climbing into your grace, into your divine self. do not neglect that simply because you can take a plant like ayahuasca or peyote or psilocybin, which I never recommend for Kundalini people, or San Pedro or any of these other plant medicines that can take you there. And I truly feel that medicine is really kind of, those of us in the West, we're looking at medicine as meaning something that you take when you're sick that helps you to get over that illness. And I guess you can stretch that meaning to include sick frames of mind or illness, an ill frame of mind or an ill emotional thing that will, and certainly the ayahuasca I feel is a very, very strong, beautiful medicine, which I have taken. But it didn't take me off the Kundalini path. I didn't have to do ayahuasca 600 times in order to validate that I'm on a spiritual path. I don't have to run around in a sarong, not that I wouldn't, but I don't have to run around in a sarong or naked through the forest in order to prove to myself, wow, I belong on this world. Although, as many of you know, I do recommend that Kundalini people do run naked through the forest because there's a connection to being natural in nature that you can't achieve while you're wearing clothing. But what I'm saying is, you don't need to go join a tribe in the in the Colombian jungle in order to validate that you're a spiritual being having a physical experience. And you don't have to take every known plant medicine in the jungle in order to validate that in yourself. You've got the Kundalini there already. It is waiting for you. And for some of you, it's already up and active, and you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. Bringing Her Holiness back here. Hi, Centaur. What do you think of what I'm saying?
Wonderful.
What I really was your esoteric dependence. I could see that again, that I would return to again and again, because while maybe the plant itself isn't addictive, I could see how the experience would be, how that how one would become dependent, and how I haven't taken ayahuasca and that myself, but I could imagine with the that would be the case.
Yeah. Well, let's just go with the Irish version of ayahuasca, which would be a pint. Why do people drink?
Oh my gosh! Let's get it in there.
Why do people drink pints? Why do they drink pints?
Well, let me see if I can imagine why that would be. But people drink pints because it produces in them certain feelings. I wouldn't go so far as to say they're esoteric, but I mean, it takes them out of the reality of their lives, and it gives them
right.
That sort of thing.
Right, and this is why I think people would do some of these other jungle medicines as well, because it takes them out of their mundane existence, because they don't know say another way. They don't know how to do that. But Kundalini people do know that. So let me ask you,
yes,
Centaur, why are you going to Peru with me?
I am going to Peru for many, many reasons. One of the reasons I'm going to Peru is that the Kundalini has given for me to go to Peru, Chrism. I had a dream many years ago about ayahuasca, and it was a very much Kundalini dream. And so two things happened. I felt a real communication from Kundalini that I was to go to Peru, and I also felt a calling from the plant, if that makes sense. I mean, I just know that I'm to take the ayahuasca. And it's not because I want...
The plants gave you a phone call? What was that?
Yeah, something like that. I'm not going to go into the details of the dream, but it was an amazing, real experience in my dream, and I know that I'm to go to Peru, but I'm not going there, Chrism, so that I will, see colours, or so that I will get to. I'm not that interested in the content of what will happen. People speak about, the amazing journey that they have and what they see and all of that. And I have experienced that anyway with Kundalini. I'm not seeking that. Kundalini gives me that when and if Kundalini chooses. And so the reason I'm going has got nothing to do with that. I mean, really, it's got to do with... I don't know what's ahead of me, to be perfectly honest.
You're just not fessing up to it. I know that you want to eat a guinea pig. Go on. You want to eat a guinea pig. Yes, you do. I know it from the start.
Yeah. The thing about it is, though, I mean, it's...
You want to eat a guinea pig.
Anyway.
Just don't say it.
Yeah, well, I'm a bit short on blood, haven't I? Being one of these vegetarian people. Just
so
one
those of
step
you
short
that eat guinea
is me.
Be advised, they eat guinea pigs in Peru. So, it's definitely... They have guinea pig bars, actually, where they fix you up, whatever. So, okay. Well, I agree with you. And if you're
it's going to be about blockages, isn't it? It's going to assist me in some way. The Kundalini in me is going to, and the plant are going to do what needs something that I don't know, Chrism. Tell me why I'm going to Peru.
That's right. Well, I mean, I think the ayahuasca can isolate certain levels of virtuous teaching for a person that will help them within their Kundalini continuum, that will help them have the Kundalini in a stronger and better way. This is why I am so happy to take people, Kundalini awakened and activated people, down to Peru in order to have that occur for them, because so much of what the ayahuasca does have to do directly with the Kundalini, and I'm very happy for that. But I don't suggest that people do this 600 times or even 100 times or even 50 times. That's not the purpose. The purpose is not to sidestep the personal discipline that you already have, the practice that you already have, in order to take the plant medicine and have all your problems solved with the plant medicine. And do not think for one instance that the ayahuasca is going to solve every little problem that has come to your life that is blocking you from having a better flow with your Kundalini. It'll take care of some of them, though. And it'll take care of them in a way that really pushes you into another dimension and pushes that dimension into you. And that dimension itself has the ability to teach you about certain levels of your Kundalini development that would be helpful for you. But do not become behaviorally addicted to it. That's what I'm saying. Thank you, my dear. I'll come back to you in about a little less than half an hour. So, be very, very, very cogent of how it is and why it is you are approaching plant medicines. They're really good. You can get plant medicines almost anywhere. I mean, mushrooms pretty much. Wherever there's cows, you can get psilocybin mushrooms pretty much. Always make sure if you're going to do the psilocybins that you crush them blue, i.e. if you crush the mushroom between your thumb and forefinger, it should come out like blue paint. The juice should be like a blue paint. But never, ever take psilocybin and have Kundalini at the same time. But I know some of you just aren't going to listen to me. And so I'll forget you, Chrism. I got a cow pasture right behind me. I'm going to head on out there right now. And that will be as it is. I just assume the person live and have an amazing psychotic episode rather than die have to start all over again. So let me go over here to Her Holiness Miss Brooke. Is this Brooke Robertson? Hello.
Hi. Hello.
Hey, how come you're going to Peru?
I'm going for I think just further clarification of my process, my agenda, and healing of blockages and things that I think are, I'm not sure that's what's going to happen, but that feels to me like what, if you were to ask me what my expectations were, that would be something I'd be looking for. But, as Santara said, I am open to whatever it is the Kundalini is going to deliver in that situation. I'm not going either for phenomena or anything like that. And I've never done anything like this. But I've had phenomena just on my own. But yeah, I would say healing. I read that it's a healing medicine, and it deals with the brain and emotional trauma and things like that, rewiring of the brain. It's just fascinating to me. So that's part of why I'm going to go.
Well, excellent. And and thank you for taking the time to respond to that. Now, you say you've already had phenomena. Tell me, what kind of phenomena have you had, and what did you have to do in order to gain that phenomena that didn't require you to take some sort of a jungle medicine to bring that phenomena onto you? What happened?
I honestly think that it was my own journey of refinement in my heart and in my mind and my thoughts and my emotional realm, and the decisions and choices that I made along my life brought me closer and closer to being able to receive the Kundalini, if that makes sense. I don't think that, I really wasn't a huge meditator or anything like that. I was always very spiritually driven before I had my first experience of phenomena.
Well,
very concerned to
you were raised in a special environment, though, were you not?
Right, and it was extremely, you could say, quote, spiritual, to use that word, although I don't like using that word really. But, I was, because I was very concerned to learn my purpose and why I'm here, and I always felt like, there was something that I had need to do.
You did a lot of prayer, right? A lot of prayer?
That I did, yes, prayer.
And a lot of service, right?
A lot of selfless service. In fact, from age 18 on to 30 onwards, it was all about that. A lot of selfless service, yes. And
you never collected a check, did you?
No, I did not have a paycheck where I was. No, we just did what was needed, and we received what was needed.
Yeah,
it's definitely it may sound strange to others, but I guess I've had that feeling my whole life of wanting to be, and this is the other thing I was going to just add with this whole thing about the ayahuasca and doing it 100 times, like you were saying. There's one thing that I think sometimes you're talking about, like the shortcut. It seems like there's this missing element of service to God that people sometimes walk around or try to skirt around. And I guess I've always felt in my life strongly about how I can do that. And I know that sounds kind of weird and like
how you can get around doing service to the divine?
No. I what I'm saying is when you're doing the ayahuasca 100 times looking for that quick route, I sometimes feel that people do not have in mind the intention of service to God, to the Kundalini. It's more of, what can I get out of it?
Self-service.
And I think the motivation should be service to and coming under a certain element of control to the Kundalini. This is how I feel, because the Kundalini does, you do serve the Kundalini. You know what I mean? You are under that control anyway. It's just the ego that thinks that it has a choice. I don't know if I'm making sense, but I feel like sometimes
Go ahead.
I feel like sometimes with, doing that to get a shortcut to the divine or to the phenomena, doing the ayahuasca or all the other, it's just there's this missing element of devotion or service to the divine. I sometimes see that in people. Not everybody, but I sometimes see that. And I think the main purpose should be, or your main motivation should be service to Kundalini, devotion to Kundalini.
And I agree. I certainly agree within a, especially within a Kundalini context where you already have the Kundalini up. This isn't something that it's not a carnival ride.
Right.
You don't pay your plane ticket and then you show your plane ticket to the carnival guy and he puts you in the ayahuasca ride and there you go. Okay.
Right. So back to your. Oh, go ahead.
Well, and so that ties right into the understanding that you are coming there in order to open yourself to greater levels of understanding regarding your Kundalini equation. This to me is really a key element in why Kundalini awakened people would go down to Peru and partake of ayahuasca or San Pedro or things of that nature. Something that will increase your knowledge, that increases your flow of Kundalini.
Right, the removal or the healing of potential blocks that are there that are hindering the flow, as you say, of the Kundalini through me or through someone else. So yeah.
Well, thank you, Brooke. And you were going to say that is what?
Oh, well, I was just going to say, and that's why I would be going, to answer your question.
Thank you for letting me interrupt your listening experience, and I'm going to put you right back into the Shiva Blue. Thank you, Brooke.
You're welcome. Bye.
So there you have it, folks. I think Amelia and Brooke have pretty much nailed it. You are going down there as a service to the Kundalini. I mean, Amelia Santara, she says it, straight up. She says, my Kundalini said that I need to go down there. It came to me in a dream. I need to go down there. The plants are calling to me. This is going to be good. I'm going to go. Brooke is saying, well, where's the service to divinity with people? Why are they going down there just to, is this a Ferris wheel ayahuasca ride? I mean, where is the level of recognition of the divine within, and where are you in that level of understanding your service to the divine? Where are you coming into an ayahuasca experience or a San Pedro experience that is there as a testament to your divine, as a what do they call it like a communion with the divine within you, the divine within you. And the plant is merely building a bridge, a temporary bridge that allows you to get a greater clarification. Well, you have memory cells. You have a brain that can form memories. And so as you go into that ayahuasca experience, you really want to remember the teachings that you're given. And, you won't be able to write it down. You'll have to remember it. And you remember that, and then you fly away from Peru. You fly back to Canada. You fly back to the United States. You fly back to England or France or wherever you're flying in from. You fly back, and you apply those teachings that you've been given. But you don't necessarily start looking for ayahuasca in your area just so that you can do it again, just so that you can have that experience without having to do the work that the Kundalini wants you to do. This isn't about bypassing self-discipline. It's not about bypassing meditation or bypassing the practice of the safeties. And I think many, many people are using these methods, and these methods have been recognized by the ancient Rishi. This is called the short path, the Soma path, S-O-M-A. 5 constituents of which ayahuasca, Syrian rue, marijuana, possibly Amanita muscaria, and another fifth element, not to quote the movie at all, but another fifth element that is present, and that, people would take that all at the same time, and boom, you're straight into enlightenment, or you're dead. Either way, there wasn't a lot of wiggle room when you took 5 things like that at the same time in order to come into the presence of the divine. And you got to remember that you're not just doing your practice, and you're not just recognizing service to God, and you're not just doing selfless service and being kind and forgiving and tolerant and honest and truthful and sincere in all of those qualities. You're not doing that just because, oh gosh, I want to have my Kundalini activated. These are actual gifts of grace that you are bringing to the divine. These are gifts of grace that you are bringing to the divine. You enter into the heavenly realm, and it is seen in your energetic expression how strong these gifts are within you. It's like you're giving God a really cool remote controlled boat that God can play with on a pond somewhere, if God were to play with boats on ponds, which he does through little kids. These types of gifts are extremely profound gifts. And this is why the safety protocols are helping you to promote those gifts. I don't know how the ayahuasca, when I took the ayahuasca, it gave me understandings of the Kundalini and the world, but it didn't give me a greater understanding of how I was to be more tolerant, or to be more patient, or to be more forgiving, or to be more service oriented. It didn't increase levels of selfless service or love. Okay, it was far more interested in giving me levels of the Kundalini interacting with the planet. Okay, and I'm very grateful to that experience. I'm very grateful for that teaching, and I remember that teaching because it's so pristine and it's so evident in my mind. I see the visions right now as I'm speaking. I can see them right now, and I remember how that felt and how interesting that was for me to see that. Okay, and experience that. And I didn't vomit either, I didn't have that vomiting thing. So, not everybody's going to go through the vomiting stuff. Some people will, but and that's okay, and that they need to get that stuff out. But not everybody vomits. I hope I don't. If I do the ayahuasca on this trip that Cole and Brooke and Centaur are going on, if I'm allowed, if my Kundalini allows me to do that, then we'll see what happens with it. But yeah, you don't have to vomit it out. So anyway, so really, really look into this. Look into this idea that it's not all about sidestepping the work that we have to do to have the Kundalini in us in the first place. You still need to do your meditations. You still need to do your forgivenesses. You still need to have your tolerance and your honesty and all of the positive, love-based gifts of grace that you are prepared to lay at the feet of the divine. And that's never a done deal. While you're in this body, living this life, you never get to sit down and go, okay, all right, well, I have enough gratitude to God. I'm done with that now. Let me see. Honey, do you have a bow? I'm going to wrap it up here and ship it off to the Heavenly Fields, P.O. Box, 0001. No, you never get to finish it. It's a constant development. There is a time when you will present this to the divine, though. There is that time. And that time is now, because you're constantly presenting it to the divine. The divine is within you, remember. Those of you that do devotion, those of you that have done devotion with me, either on Skype or in person, those of you that do the devotion, you know that you're constantly constantly inside the awareness of grace, and grace is constantly tapped into you, engaging you and helping you and living with you. And so as you do that selfless service, as you do that kindness, as you help that person across the street or open that door or save somebody's life, so are you manifesting in the real time gifts of grace that are being utilized by the divine within you, utilized in ways that we can't even know of. So don't think that when you go into the jungle and you do ayahuasca or San Pedro, any of those things, that you are free from having to do your practice. As much as possible, still do your practices. Everybody that's going down there typically has a knowledge of the safeties. I don't want to take anybody down there that isn't practicing the safeties. I mean active practice of the safeties. These are the qualities of grace that the whole intention really is to give into the world. Okay. So just an FYI. And now, once again, I would like to bring... I'm being reminded to come up to another sacred feminine personage that has graced us with her presence, and her name is Eileen Laurel. Hello, Eileen.
Hi, Chrism.
Eileen, I have a phrase I want to say to you. You ready?
I guess.
Da luci convece busca. I forget my Italian now. How are you?
I'm fine. And what does that mean, or can you say it on the air?
No, can't say it on the air. So tell me, do you have any announcements to make? Are there anything on the KAS agenda that people should know about?
Is Rosemary not going to make the announcement?
No.
Okay. All right, I do have it here. Let's pull it up. 1 second. Chrism will be in Minnesota the early part of November. There is
Yeah, sure, you betcha.
Yeah, sure. November 7th and 8th at the Minneapolis Holistic Expo, booth number 38, and Chrism will give a talk Saturday, November 7th at 3 p.m. And then during that week, he'll be in Minnesota. We don't know what talks he'll be giving, but then the following weekend is a 2-day seminar, and that's going to be held in Eagan, Minnesota, at the same venue that the last two have been held. It's really a nice venue. I really enjoyed it. November 14th and 15th, the 2 days. Contact information, call Rosemary. It's Rosemary G at usinternet.com. That's Rosemary G at usinternet.com. The phone number is 651-329-9615. And Rosemary has a number of film screenings of the movie Kundalini set up for the month of October and has room for more if anyone's interested. So just give her a call.
Thank you, my dear. Thank you very much for these announcements. It's very kind of you to do that.
You're welcome.
And coming into the Shiva Blue and then coming back to the Emerald Isle. Hopefully everything is going well there. So let's just take the chance. And there she is. She put herself right on board. There you are. Hello, your host.
Hi, Chrism. I will give my announcement, which is to let them know where they can go to make a donation. You can go to www.ascension-kundalini.blogspot.com, and there you will find the donate button. And all donations are gratefully received, very much so. If you're in a position to make a donation, then please feel free to do so. And there's another one that I can give you as well, and that's www.chrism-kundalini.blogspot.com. partake.com, and there is also a donate button on that. So again, all donations gratefully received. And Chrism, whenever you're ready, I also have a few questions today.
Okay, but just a second here. I'm going to back it up for the chat room here, and let's see. Atlanta Seeker. Atlanta Seeker asks, do Robert Monroe's Hemi-Sync audio tapes help awaken the Kundalini? No. They do, however, help you have out-of-body experiences, and the out-of-body experience can lead to the Kundalini awakening experience. And so that is very much a possibility. I have used Hemi-Sync. They are effective, and if you're going to use Hemi-Sync, Atlanta Seeker, do it in the daytime. Don't do it as you're laying down to go to sleep, because they're much more effective in the daytime rather than at nighttime when you're going to sleep. And so hemispheric synchronization, as people have written, I think it's about syncing the brain, the both halves of the brain, using white noise, pink noise, and various tones that are adjusted one way, one slightly different than the other, forming a harmonic in the brain and evidently increasing brain efficiency by about 40%. So they're using it in schools. They've tested it out, and it's pretty good. Now, Vincent91 asks, would you please elaborate why mushrooms are this bad? If you're K-active earlier last year, I took truffles. Well, I went into so much fear, I called an ambulance. Ouch. But why is this so? Psilocybin, my friend. Now, I don't think that the truffles have psilocybin in them. So psilocybin is the deal. Psilocybin basically works on the seventh chakra, and it can blow the top off your head. So it's something that you don't really want to have occur. But the truffles, I think, are more of a truffles are not hallucinogenic. I don't think. I've never heard of truffles being hallucinogenic in that way. So I think you're probably safe with those, and I probably, you're probably safe with turkey tails and the kind of mushrooms that everybody likes that are grown in cow poo, that everybody except me likes. But yeah. Truffles are hallucinogenic. Well, I didn't know. So I don't know too much about the truffles. I do know about the psilocybin. I have done the psilocybin myself. I speak from experience. But I would not do it. I've worked with too many people that have had severe, dire consequences when they have mixed Kundalini awakening with psilocybic mushrooms. Now, people haven't had the same experience with the Amanita muscaria mushrooms. As a matter of fact, they've had very, very positive Kundalini supportive experiences with the Amanita muscaria. And so different mushrooms, different scenarios. And I don't really know about the truffles, so I can't really tell you about those. Let's see. And moving on, let's see. Chrism, can you please elaborate on methods on how to deal with entities? Well, it's very, very, very easy. You just need to not give them any attention. You choose to take control of your personal inner space. Somehow, maybe through your mushroom experiences, you've opened yourself up to having possessive interactions by entities. This is fairly common with people that have Kundalini even without having experimented with mushrooms. Okay, so it's not an uncommon thing, but the Kundalini is allowing you to have these entities because it is teaching you methods of self-discipline on controlling what you do based upon controlling what you think, based upon controlling how you feel, not how some itinerant entity is shouting into your mind with. Okay? Not by you believing that some discarnate entity has any more knowledge about life than you do. Not by depending on some discarnate entity that's too much of a of a corruptive force to even be able to come down in its own human body and to learn what it is to be on the evolutionary path of going from the mundane straight into the divine. Okay, they're there to scare you. They're there to manipulate you. They're there to corrupt your process. So you do everything that you can do to not give them any attention at all. Don't even say, oh, I smudge you with this hemp, therefore be gone. Don't go, oh, I smudge, I'm wearing my Christian cross, therefore be gone. Because first of all, none of that's going to work. And second of all, you don't need to put your faith in anything outside of your Kundalini grace. If the entity is saying, okay, I want you to jump in front of this car, all you need to do is just focus on your Kundalini and on the grace that you have with Kundalini and give yourself to the Kundalini. If you have a teacher that has the Kundalini or that is welcome to you having devotion, then you give your devotion to that teacher. You never, ever, ever acknowledge the entity or give it any kind of a valuation or correspondence, either spoken or thought or through emotion. Okay? I hope that's clear. Now with I see. So we're going. They're getting into truffles and this and that. Yeah, they may try to push you out of your body. They may try to make you. No, this is not Kundalini. These are entities. So don't you listen to them and don't you communicate with them. You do what your Kundalini wants you to do. You take my picture and you hard copy my picture. And whenever they're bothering you, you stare into the picture and say, I give myself to my Kundalini. I give myself to my Kundalini. And you let my Kundalini help you vis-a-vis that photograph. Okay, all right. And so this brings me back to Her Holiness in the Emerald Isle. Questions, my dear?
Okay, first question. I have been having migraine-type headaches since yesterday. Is this normal after Kundalini has activated or awakened?
It's normal. It's normal for people that have the Kundalini or that have had it activated or awakened, but it's also normal for those who are open to having the Kundalini. So if you have some of that photosensitivity, and you're just normal person, not awakened, not activated, nothing like that, but you have that photosensitivity, you may be able to see that as an invitation into grace by having the opportunity to have a migraine. And we would have known this had science not been so focused on just covering up a symptom rather than exploring why the symptom is there in the first place. Instead of giving people tremendously strong tranquilizers to dumb down the pain sensation from a migraine, which can be very, very painful, as opposed to that, and really exploring why a migraine is coming, and then looking at it from that angle, this person can be invited into this vis-a-vis these migraines. These migraines can be induced through extreme photosensitivity. If you see different colored flashing lights, that can bring on a migraine, or even headlights. As you're driving your car, if you see a lot of the headlights and turn signals and brake lights and blah, 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 that can start bringing a migraine on. And so, it's typically temporary for Kundalini people. It will go away once you begin to acknowledge and honor your Kundalini activation. Those migraines tend to just fade right away. Fade right away. Okay, my dear.
Okay, thank you, Chrism. The next question is feelings of loneliness. What can we do about that?
And I'd like to say you're welcome, Vincent91. Absolutely. And feelings of loneliness, what can we do to that? Well, who is it that's being alone, and why is the loneliness there? Are you lonely because you can't talk to other people about the Kundalini when you've got this almost a 10,000 member group that you can talk to people about with it? You can read about it. You may not be able to meet people in person sometimes. That can be a challenge because Kundalini is still not that well known of in the general populations. But also look to, why is it you're feeling alone? What is it that is incomplete in your life? What is it that about yourself that is yearning for outside contact? And what kind of contact do you have with your own heart? Who are you talking to when you say I feel so alone? In a Kundalini context, if you've had Kundalini for a while, you're never alone. You are never, ever alone. You're always being observed. You're always being observed by the creatures around you, the little mites that are in your scalp, and the bacteria in the mucous membranes, the discarnates that may be around you, which I wouldn't suggest you communicate with. There's all forms of life around you. The virus have consciousness. The spores have consciousness. The little spider in the corner, she has a consciousness. The little cockroach in the corner, he has a consciousness. Your dogs, your cats, your birds, they all have consciousness. You can communicate with them. You just got to do it in a different way. So what are you looking for when you feel alone? Are you looking for human contact? Are you living in Siberia where there is no human contact, or the Arctic? Are you living on a floating ice floe? Are you unable to get out and say hello to a perfect stranger? Are you unable, or are you unwilling? Which is different. Do you need to talk about Kundalini with somebody? In order to what? To validate your own experience? What's going on? What's going on with that? Okay. I think that you need to get to know yourself and get to know the level of creation that is around you all the time. When's the last time you had a conversation with your kidney? When's the last time you had a conversation with your Kundalini itself? And do you expect a 5 cents behind the veil answer? Is that the only way you can feel as if you're being accepted in a social format? I can understand that, Go out. Step out of the house. Do a volunteer service. Seriously, I'm not joking. Do a volunteer service. Visit people in an old age home. Visit young children, and be a big brother, be a big sister, be something of that nature. Do something that is helpful to society, and I guarantee you, the Kundalini will pull you out of that selfish, depressive, I feel so alone quality that we all fall into every now and again. Do your selfless service, and as you do that selfless service, which is part of the safeties, you will meet people. People will meet you. They'll want to meet you because you have the Kundalini. You'll make friends. And having friends is a great antidote to feeling so alone all the time. Done.
Thank you, Chrism. This
Just
was
a second,
a question that came.
Just a second. Now let's see. Vincent asks, could you please tell some symptoms of an immature crown opening? Headaches. You get headaches. You'll have the golden helmet a lot. You'll feel like something's walking on the top of your head. You'll have eye strain without having strained your eyes. You'll have occipital lobe headaches. You'll have top of the crown headaches. You might start seeing visions. You might have various symptoms along those lines of having spiritual phenomena occur to you, but without having any of the lower chakras there to support you in receiving that spiritual phenomena. It's going to scare you to pieces. So that would be some of the early signs and symptoms of an immature crown opening, and So yeah. And go ahead, my dear Santara.
Can I ask a question there to extend on that one, Chrism?
Yeah.
What does immature mean? Does it just mean the beginnings of something?
Probably
Does it just mean initial stages?
It probably means self-induced by virtue of mushroom use or hallucinogenic use.
Okay. Kind of forced in a way, maybe then?
Yeah, ego-based forced awakenings.
Okay, thank you. Well, there's a question here that came into to my message box, and it says, why are insects attracted towards me and are biting me? I get a body rash. Is it due to the insects or hyperacidity, or has my skin become too sensitive? And this person would have Kundalini, Chrism.
Oh. Well, I went down to the Amazon and with Kundalini awake, and the mosquitoes still bit me. They had no problem with that. Matter of fact, they seemed to enjoy it quite nicely. So you're still seen as food for the environment. And if you don't cover up your arms, you don't cover up your legs. Now, I never suggest that you spray poison on your skin. That's going to really put your liver through it. But you can cover up, and you are seen as food. I mean, you are a food source to certain insects, and they will partake of that food source. Don't think that they won't. Just as you would partake of them if they were an accepted form of food for you. And you don't have to be Kundalini awakened or activated. Now you can, you read Yogananda's book, Biography of a Yogi. I think that's what it's called, something like that. And he has the same problems. He's in there with his teacher, and he's going. And the mosquitoes aren't bothering the teacher at all, not a bit. But they're bothering Yogananda. And he goes, God, my gosh, why are the bugs biting me so much? And the teacher says, well, just ask them to stop. Well, now that's easier said than done, right? But you got to do your meditation, you got to do your practice, you got to do your safety, you got to increase your power to the point where you can have an effective communication with the insects that will allow them to search for another source of food besides you. Just because you have Kundalini doesn't mean that you're at the end-all, be-all in energetic manifestation and creation. And Kundalini is the first step on the ladder. It's not the top of the ladder. There are a lot of rungs to that Kundalini ladder, and there will be other lives to be lived with a Kundalini equation in the person. And so it's very important that people remember that. So, oh, well, gosh, I'm activated, therefore mosquitoes won't bite me and I won't get poison oak, and I can eat anything I want and I won't get sick, and I can drive like a maniac and I won't get a ticket, and I'm being protected, so I can just flash all this money to poor people and they won't want to take it. Well, I got news for you. None of that's true. None of that's true at all. Just because you have Kundalini doesn't mean that you can be an idiot. Just because Kundalini, in a way you need to be very, very, very considerate of the forces that are around you. If you're walking through a poor part of town, you need to be considerate of those poor people, and you don't flash a huge temptation towards damaging you so they can get the paper in your pocket. Okay, you have to be considerate of their feelings and their desperation. You have to be considerate of the hunger that exists in this world. You have to be considerate of that, and you have to take that in mind as you bare your skin and stand under a straight light. The bugs are going to come. They're going to be attracted to your heat signature. So you have to be considerate of the forces, of the predatory forces that exist in human nature, in the human experience, and in the insect world, and the mammalian world, and the fish world. You don't go out having your period and expect not to attract sharks if you're swimming in the ocean. Especially off the coast of Ireland.
Yes. That's the pint and the shark covered. But seriously, that's a wonderful answer, Chrism.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful answer because I think sometimes, I speak of myself. I probably do go out into the woods near my house and think that I'm immune. Sometimes I am, but I think, that's what you just said there was wonderful. Yeah, except for the sharks and the period.
Next one, Mike.
The next one was also a private message, and it says, what if we have had some dreams that have been prophetic and then we have a dream that is about the death of a family member? It's a huge to me as this has happened, and I'm worried about it coming true. What can I do, or what should I do about this dream?
Trust your Kundalini. Trust the divine within you. All things happen according to karma and according to specific levels of the blueprint of life. Dreams are not facts. Dreams sometimes can represent probabilities, but they're not definite facts. And so you don't want to be so afraid of that dream to the point where you put so much energy into it that you begin to make it a fact by virtue of your fear. If it's not something that you want to see happen, don't feed it any energy. Don't feed it any energy. And do not buy into the fear. A lot of people will say, oh my gosh, that person's going to die. Oh, you start prepare yourself and get their affairs in order and, pick out a nice pink coffin or whatever, You just don't buy into somebody else's prognostications of fear upon you. That happens a lot. People think they know when in fact they don't know. The death of a family member can just basically mean the life change of a family member. So they may be graduating from high school, or they may be getting a new job or getting married. It doesn't always mean death. People need to understand that. I mean, they just they always jump to the most fearful explanation first. And that is not always the case. Matter of fact, over 50% of the time it is not the case. Unless you start pumping, onerous amounts of energy, fear energy into that equation, this person has nothing to worry about. Okay. Now, if it starts coming to a person of a waking vision, that's a different story. Then you want to kind of look at what that waking vision is about and see if it's telling you what not to do, or what, maybe that person needs to take a trip to Iceland. Maybe it's not going to happen, Reykjavik. But if they stay where they are, maybe that is going to happen. So, get your ticket to Reykjavik. Or Cork. It's the same.
Well, okay.
Or y'all.
About as cold, actually, yes.
Is it getting cold there? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It is. It's getting cold. It is. So, okay. Thank you. The next question is about chakra breathing, and this came, I think this was on the group, on the Shaktipat group, and it says, can I chakra breathe without Shaktipat before regular meditations and say the Shakti mantra?
I would suggest that you don't do the chakra breathing on your own. Let that be something that you do only during Shaktipat. Only because people are still typically manipulated by their ego. And we're, in this world, in the Western world especially, there's this attitude of more is good, more is stronger, more is better, more. King size me, double size me, jumbo size me, more. And because of that attitude, I don't want you going in and manipulating those chakras in such a way. You leave that just for the meditation, and you also leave that Shakti mantra just for the Shaktipat. Unless you're working with me one-on-one, and my Kundalini says, okay, give them a certain chakra breathing pattern, well, then I'll give them the pattern. But on your own, I think you're just asking for trouble, and you're asking for phenomena that you may not be prepared to metabolize. Done.
Thank you. This is from the group. I was wondering why nobody ever talks about hearing the chakras vibrate. Today my heart chakra started vibrating and I heard it. Any thoughts?
Oh, thoughts. Yeah, that's all right. That's, hearing them vibrate, that's not a bad thing. It means that she's got a special quality that's coming through, kind of like a clairaudient level of hearing the chakra manifest. We don't write about every phenomena that comes up. And so, these phenomena, they're there, they're special, they're good, but you don't want to put too much of attachment on them. You don't want them to be, you'll say, oh, I can hear my chakras vibrate, therefore, if you can't, well, then you're just not having a Kundalini, or at least not as strong as mine. You don't want to come into it with that kind of an attitude.
Yeah.
You want to keep yourself really, really just like inquisitive. Fine. Sometimes you can hear the chakras spin. Sometimes you can hear the interactions between the two dimensions. I remember being out of body, and while I was out of body, I was being given a teaching about I was in like a studio, and I was being given a teaching about very specific points along the lines of reincarnation and things of that nature. And as I was out of body, I could hear my neighbor using a hammer to pound out a piece of metal. And the sound transferred itself very clearly, very cleanly across the dimensional divide. Okay, so you can hear the chakra spinning or vibrating. You can hear that. But if you're not hearing it, it doesn't mean anything is wrong. It doesn't mean that you're not Kundalini awakened or Kundalini activated at all. It just means that, you're not, right now, you're not focusing in those areas, or the Kundalini itself isn't focused on giving you that type of phenomena in those areas. So, yeah, it's good. This person is hearing the spinning of the chakras, but don't attach to it. Listen to it, enjoy it, and move on. Done.
Okay. Thank you.
Now, hang on.
Another question.
Cole is asking me a question here. I'm going to go ahead and read it. And Cole is asking, could you share a Kundalini interpretation standpoint of the following? And he's making it really easy on me. Mechanical organs, growing organs in petri dishes, eugenics, gender reassignment surgery, and population control. I see. Well, let's just take them one at a time. Mechanical organs, I got no problem with that. Mechanical blood, I got no problem with that, although it's not all just oxygen. Scientists have no clue about life force. And so, how the prana is going to get into that blood will be an interesting development, and what you may see people. And stop adding to this, Cole. Cole, stop, because you're causing it to scoot up, and I'm trying to read it here. Don't type. Let's see. Got to find it again now. Growing organs. So I got no problem with mechanical organs. If they work, great. Growing organs in petri dishes, got no problem with that as long as they're not robbing them from somebody else. I'd just as soon have them do that, and that it fits the person, rather than having them, hover over possibly dying people like they're doing today and going, is he dead yet? Is he dead yet? Is he dead yet? Oh my God, look at those eyes. Oh God, I can harvest those eyes right now. What else can we look for? Oh my God, look at that ear. The ear is totally undamaged. Let's see if we can get that one out. They're like a bunch of vultures, hovering over this person that made the mistake of allowing, organ harvesting to occur because he put that stamp on their license. No, that's wrong. And and the fact that they're just not going to help you live if they think that there's a good chance that you're going to die is another thing. They've got a profit motive that you die. People pay for organs. You'll get a Saudi businessman who will give that hospital, $1 billion for a new liver, and don't tell me that he's not getting bumped up the list. He's not waiting like everybody else. So no. Nobody will touch my organs. I will fling myself into the flames if anybody tries to harvest any of my organs, because they are not for anyone but myself and this earth. Okay, those are my feelings about that. Now, let me move on to eugenics. Eugenics, like what we do with trees and what we do with puppies. I don't have a problem with if people want to have a certain kind of person. It's already happening anyway. The Nazis pretty much introduced that whole concept to everybody, or I don't even think they introduced it. I think they just expanded on current concepts at that time. I think that there's going to be human machine hybrids, all of that stuff. I'm not happy about it. If they're doing it just to create a super soldier or something like that, or if they're trying to create geniuses through genetic manipulation. We still have science is still like a little kid trying to figure out the F-15 that they're sitting in, and so they're going to make mistakes, and eugenics is probably a mistake. Gender reassignment surgery, a mistake, I think. You're born in the body that you're born in. Honor that body, honor its gender, honor its color, honor its health, honor that which isn't based on social discernment, social, political, judgment. Don't go changing your gender because you've been possessed by a feminine or masculine force, and that force is giving you the idea that, oh, you're really a girl, or oh, you're really a man, when your bodies say otherwise. Honor the choice. Now, there are children born with penises and vaginas, and then the MDs make the choice for them. That's a different story. If that's the history of the individual, well, then they do indeed get a choice. And if they need to reassign that gender, fine. I got no problem with it. I really don't have a problem with forget what they call them, transvestites at all. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem if a person wants to be a girl and born a guy, then to me that's their choice. From a Kundalini perspective, though, you need to honor the vehicle that you've been given by the grace of the divine. Okay, and moving on, population control. I'm so for that. Ask Amelia. Amelia is really she wants me to be king of the world because of my. Yeah. I think populations are out of control in this world, and I think that I think every country should in some way be compelled to initiate population controls. There. And you have questions there, Amelia.
I have, Chrism. In meditation, I'm still feeling energy mostly from the heart, but sometimes I feel something kind of pop, and then the energy intensifies, and afterwards I feel weightless. Now, he says, any suggestions? But, I mean, maybe you might comment on that, Chrism. I'm not too sure what the question is, because it's a statement of what's happening, really.
Something pops, and what now?
Yeah, he's feeling the energy in the heart, but sometimes he gets this kind of pop, and when that happens, the energy intensifies, and after it, he feels weightless.
That would be kind of a blockage disappearing for the person. I remember that statement. I'm not sure if I wrote anything from it, but I could see that would be a blockage being straightened out, and the accumulated energy pushing through, giving him that feeling and that level of extra Kundalini infusing the body suddenly could give you a weightless feeling. Done.
Okay. Thank you. And I don't have any other questions, but I was wondering, would you speak a little bit about flow treatments?
Flow treatments. I posted a flow treatment on almost all the groups. Flow treatment is a level of information either energetically or pictorially presented. Typically, I give flow treatments in person. I will hold a person in a certain way, or touch a person in a certain way, and the energy will follow that flow. It will follow that touch. But you can also give a flow treatment in a pictorial sense. So I put up a picture that showed lava flowing into the sea, and right above that lava flowing into the ocean with all its associated steam clouds, there was a beautiful, beautiful large cherry tree in full bloom that was safely set away from where that lava was flowing, but the lava was flowing all around it. And that is the tremendous heat and force of the Kundalini below, and the flowering of the fontanelle and the seventh crown chakra as it comes into full bloom based upon the flow being the lava going into the ocean. You can see it very clearly. And the flowers, the delicate flowers that are situated on top of the fontanelle. And so that is a very, very clear, broad-based flow treatment for people to see, and to let their Kundalini will isolate the features that they need to understand from that. The Kundalini itself, well, as they look at it, first of all, it would direct their gaze to that. The Kundalini would direct their gaze to that flow treatment picture. And then the Kundalini itself would begin to show them, to kind of put the pieces together. Look at the lava. Look at the first chakra. Maybe even have a little bit of heat in their first chakra, and they look at that lava, and they see the lava going into the sea, and all the billowing clouds, and then they look at the tree, the cherry tree, having these beautiful blossoms, and they might feel a tingling on the top of their head, and she might lead a person into that understanding that they are indeed inside of this flow. It is a flow and a flowering. When a flower opens, if you see a time-delayed opening of a flower, you see it as a flow of opening. It opens itself, and it hyperextends itself. It's very beautiful to watch in slow motion. And that is a flow of receptivity, and the lava flowing into the sea. That is the flow of the Kundalini flowing itself into the sea, which is our consciousness and our subconsciousness, and it's flowing itself into these areas. And it's very important for people to be able to see that and not be explained to by any other human like I just did. Just ruin the picture for all of you. I apologize. But that's a flow treatment. Another flow treatment, as I said, I put my hand in a certain place, and that will adjust the flow. Or I look at a person over Skype in a certain way, and that will follow the flow. As people breathe my energy, I'll send a certain flow, a type of flow of energy over Skype or in person into a person. They'll inhale that energy, and that creates a flow treatment. I mean, there's a lot of different types of flow treatments, but these are just three of the ways that I've just described.
Thank you, Chrism. I don't have any other questions, but I see Rosemary is back. Could we bring her on?
Sure.
Even though I know yeah? Okay.
Hi, Rosemary. Santara wants to bring you on. I'll go ahead and listen in the blue.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Hi, Rosemary. Just to let you know that Eileen did make the announcements, but I see you're here, so maybe you might want to say something as well?
Yes, I do. Can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. I do. I was out last week working on preparing to show the Kundalini film, and the time got away from me, and I wanted to at least say hello. So I think of this community always. And today I was out early afternoon, thought I'd be home in time. I was doing one foot in front of the other, one roll of the tires in places, posting the list of screenings coming up, and one particular one in that area. And I wanted to tell you that because I'm coming home thinking, I don't know which part of this work I love the most. These times, as Eileen could verify too, when you're talking with people, asking them to hang a post flyer in their community boards and see the look on their face, and many times interest and don't know what it is, but the more you say, you can see there's something happening there. Amazing. And I am always touched by that. And today I ended up coming down the street totally surprised that I was there, but it was the place whose screening I've been supporting by doing this posting. And that's how the streets are all connected, and I'm not that familiar with the area, but just blessed by all of this. And to invite you as well to think about coming to the seminar if you're in the cities here, and if you're not, I said a couple weeks ago the states that we've had 7-8 states represented here over these 4 seminars. So you are most welcome, all of you. We would manage all of you. Thank you, Chrism.
That's great. And will you give us the dates again? Will you give us the dates again, Rosemary?
Yes, November 14th and 15th, and the hotel, it is Best Western. The seminar will be there. It is 10 minutes across the Mississippi from the airport, and there is at my information, Rosemary G. at usinternet.com, 651-452-3161, and tomorrow is the last day of the early registration, so if you'd like to get in touch with me and state your intention, that would work for me. So keep that in mind. So thank you.
So, okay. Yeah, lovely hearing from you, Rosemary. And Chrism, are you there?
Oh, let me...
you're back.
Let me flush the toilet. Okay, all right, there we go. And I have another question that's being asked on the chat room here. If overpopulation, oh no, that's not right. No writing. Don't write. Now I got to find it again. If there is human overpopulation, does that mean more new, young, first-time-around souls are being incarnated? Is this an important reason to control the population in addition to other reasons? No, it doesn't necessarily mean that at all. I mean, there's no indication that new, young, first-time-around souls are being incarnated. There's no indication for that at all. There are plenty of people that want to incarnate on this planet. There are plenty of souls that want to begin their journey or to continue their journey. It's definitely something for people to consider with regards to overpopulation. All that does is that takes the stress off of the planet. We don't want to stress this planet. We have to share. We have to learn how to share this planet with other divine creation. We have to learn how to share it with the dolphins, the birds, the fish, the mammals, the fungi, the minerals, the plants, everything. We have to learn how to live in balance. And overpopulation is not living in balance. Not living in balance at all. And that alone is enough of a reason not to allow overpopulation to occur. Okay, and let's see, moving on, we also have I'm not going to go into chakra removal. Okay, I got to say it. This is such a bogus thing. There's advertisements going around the internet that people can have their chakras removed. Well, let me tell you, that's like having your head removed. That's like having your leg removed. That's like having your spine removed, but don't worry, you'll be fine. Okay? No, you don't get to have your chakras removed. I mean, it's so silly. So absolutely ludicrous. There is no such thing as people having a chakra removed. Chakras are emanations of nerves that collect in certain areas on the spine. So if you're having your chakra removed, that means you're having all of the nerves that are collecting in those 7 places along your spine removed as well, which means you die. So anybody that's going around saying, I can remove somebody's chakra, is lying through their teeth. And anybody that believes them and says, oh, yeah, let's have it done, is an idiot. I'm sorry. The world, see, now there's a case for population control right there. Anyways, there you have it. Where's Santara? Santara, don't you think that's the case for population
Your
control?
Majesty. Oh, God. Okay, I might grant you that one. So I think that's the end of the show, perhaps, Chrism, unless there's more questions in the chat room.
I agree. I want to thank everybody for listening, everybody in the chat room, Rosemary and Eileen and Brooke and everybody who are a part of the show today. I would like to thank those of you listening in the future, those who are accessing the archives. And I would like to thank you, Santara, and your husband and your children. I would like to congratulate your oldest girl publicly online right now for her great steps and congratulate her. I would like to go ahead and close this episode of Kundalini Conversations with Chrism, and I would like to end it with an Om. So here we are, everyone. Ah.